Welcome back to Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence, the number one show helping entrepreneurs reach millions. If you are somebody who has a good business, it's moving forward, but then you constantly seem to end up in the weeds, maybe you know that there's something going on in your head that's actually stopping your business from growing. Or maybe your business is growing, but you have a hard time jumping back and forth between the different areas in your business, and you're trying to smooth it out so that your business grows faster without a lot of stress. If any of those fit you, today's episode is going to be for you. I'm joined by Carly Pepin. Carly and I met at a live event. We'll probably talk about this a little bit throughout the show, but it's all about how to fix the wiring in your brain. She's an awesome business coach. I met her and her husband. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Carly, how did you get here? How did you end up helping businesses rewire their brain for success?
Thanks for having me, Steve. I'm looking forward to diving into this. And yeah, so when I first began coaching, I wasn't doing business coaching in the beginning, but what I wound up discovering is that as I started to work with more and more individuals, they started to come through like lots of entrepreneurs, lots of business owners, because naturally, as we're starting to build our business, grow them, it's just something that happens with us. We have a lot of internal challenges, misperceptions. We have a lot of things that stress us out to such a degree, even within our business and personal life. It impacts how we're able to move forward. And that's how I first started connecting in that realm. As far as the business dynamic, it also kind of naturally came through in my coaching practice. And that was just because I love business. I love business so much. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. It is definitely something that is so much fun for me. First thing, instead of going to college, I started a business, failed miserably. It was awesome. Super grateful for that. And then I kind of gave up a little bit. But what was funny is as I started to work at companies, I started to build mini divisions within all of these larger companies, and I realized I was still building businesses even though it just wasn't my own. And I was like, all right, let's get started again. That's actually how I got into coaching. So naturally, as I'm talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, other individuals, it's the business started to come through, and it kind of started to shine that way. So I really started to refine it, do all the other things that you practice on the back end, make the six systems, make the structures, make it replicatable, duplicatable, and here we are today.
That's you crammed a lot into a short story. So I have to
Yeah.
ask first, what was the very first business that you started?
I had a skincare company and a retail store. So we did wholesale and retail, and we made our own skincare. So it was all natural products. I still actually use the soap and some of the products that we made. There's some that are just 5 star that I love so much that I still make for myself.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
It's
Uh,
fun.
I mean, that's you're following in like the Paul Mitchell kind of thing, but it is challenging, definitely having a brick and mortar. And then you started building for other businesses and realized, oh, I'm actually still doing business.
Yep.
Um, and then you got into coaching. So let's talk a little bit about systems because that's, I think, the thing that separates solopreneurs or people that are usually, I would say, sub 100K from businesses that are 500K to multiple millions is having systems in place. Where do you see most businesses struggling with systems when you go in and start helping them?
They perceive that the systems are too much time and energy to implement. They think it's going to take up more time. They think it's going to make things harder. And that's the biggest misperception. It actually makes things so much easier. What they don't realize is it's not just on the day-to-day tasks that it is helpful with, it's also during employee transitions, trainings, all these different dynamics. If you take someone on and you have really quality systems and structures in place, it's very easy for someone else to come in. So, for example, like when I left the companies that I was working at, right? The systems and structures that I put in place made it easy for someone else to take it over. And so that made it that the business doesn't fall apart when I'm gone and it just keeps running and growing. And that's the most important thing because when we think about our business, we want it to run no matter who's there, no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening. And sometimes that's even with the owner and the founders, the CEOs. And so I say it's like even those systems and structures is like, how do we replace that person? Because if I say, I'll think of like Elon Musk maybe. If I say if I lose Elon Musk in a company and then Tesla will go down, is Tesla really a great business? Absolutely not. But if there's systems, processes, stuff to go in the back end that would keep that going, like Apple, we lost Steve Jobs, but Apple is still a great company. So what are they doing on the back end to make that happen? Actually, I have a client who is an executive that has been at Apple, and he loves it there. He got snagged a little while and actually went back to Apple because it's such a great company and he loves the organization. And it is a testament to see when they lost their top individual, Steve Jobs, like it's still a really functioning company. So yeah, also it's great for your employees because they, like I said, they lost him for large pay and he came back because he's like, I cannot handle the chaos at this other company. So it was really cool to see that too, is like you really get the top talent when you have things organized and structured because they can work and they want to work. It's
Well,
fun.
that's, yeah, I think, I mean,
Mhm.
what I hear, it is they think it's going to be more work, but I think the secret thing that I hear when I really talk to people is they want to be recognized for their genius. Like it's all me. It's my special sauce, and I can't put that into a formula or I can't teach that to somebody. And I think what really is going on is even like if you go one level deeper, they're worried that, well, if we put it into an SOP, if we put it into a clear system, then I'm not necessary.
Yeah. I
And
hope you're not. I'll tell you why. You're gonna be stuck there forever. Do you really want to be stuck in that same position forever? If you're listening and you're a manager, do you want to stay stuck as that manager forever? If you're a leader on any way, shape, or form, or even just on the lower end, like if you want to move up, make yourself replaceable, and then go invest in higher end, higher quality tasks as an owner. Make yourself replaceable so that you can be a visionary of the company. Instead of working in the company, you work on the company. And maybe you have another vision outside that. I don't know. Like, I want you to do what you love, but like part of it is making sure all of these little things that you don't have to be spending so much time on, you're not. And that's what the standard operating procedures are for. And sometimes it's just making sure that you leave work on time and don't have to get there early so you can spend time with your family. You do what you love to do. I want to make sure you do that. I know you were saying you live at a ski resort. If you want to ski every morning, I want you to ski every morning. Put in a standard operating procedure to take some time away and make sure that happens. So I think that's the thing that people forget is that you want to save yourself time. You want to save yourself energy. You want to make the easy things easy, and then you can focus on the more interesting, kind of harder challenges, the things that you require your brain, your energy, your creativity for. Because all you're delegating is you're delegating almost a lower end task that you're doing to yourself to standard operating procedures that can be replicatable, duplicatable. The other really important part about this as well is sometimes this happens within a company where if you don't have these processes put in place, you're not able to transfer on leadership to another individual. And you may think it doesn't impact you because it's your division. So it's not going to impact you because your division is yours and no one can take you over. But if your division isn't running well and you don't have that in there and other people under you are really struggling to make ends meet, you impact every other division and that impacts the entire company. It becomes almost like a disease, and I've seen that as well. So yeah, go replace yourself. Like if you're that replaceable, then you're not even quality enough to like put in those procedures. And this is a good reflection too, because even though I did replace myself in those companies, they love having me there. Like they love having me. I'll go meet, very good friends with some of the owners still. And if I go meet up with them, they're like, we miss you so much. Like it's been over a decade and like we wish we could have you back. Anything we could do to get you back. So I prepared them and I got rid of me and the necessity for me. So why do they still need me? Because that stuff and putting in those systems is so valuable that they love having people like that around who care about the company, who want to make it work. So ironically, we actually become more valuable when we replace ourselves. Like we just forget that.
well, it's the other thing that I mean, you touched on
Hmm.
a lot there. You become more valuable because your brain is actually focusing on real challenges in the business versus being a checklist person, right? So many managers I know are I think there's two things that happen with managers that I saw before I left corporate in 2013. One is they were a really good employee doing whatever and they got promoted, because they were a good employee, but they don't know how to teach what they did. So they're constantly juggling balls and spinning plates, and they don't want to take the time to do a system because it seems painful. Or I saw this actually, I had a client that fits this really well. He doesn't fit well in structure. He doesn't like following structure himself, so he's not going to build a structure that everybody has to fall into, which I think that comes back to mental stuff. But the other one is just like people are scared that if I replace myself, if there's a checklist, then what do I do? Well, then that's when you get to go really do the hard stuff, but it's
Hmm.
also the fun stuff. Fun slash hard, fard, can we call it?
Yeah, that's
Like
a good one. Yeah.
I don't know, like that's the stuff that like lights our brain up and gets us moving forward and also helps the business move forward. If you talked about Steve Jobs and Apple, when Steve stepped down, he gave things over to Tim Cook, and Tim Cook had been there. He had actually been at Apple, left and came back a lot for the reasons that we're talking about. And he didn't run the company the same way Steve did, but he knew what the values were that drove Apple, and he stayed true to
Hmm.
that. That's a dovetail into your free gift. If you guys are enjoying this conversation so far, uh, Carly has two gifts for you. They're listed in the show notes. The first one is about the systems that you have in your business. It's a system assessment. So you can see where you're weak, where you maybe need to get a little stronger. And the second one, which is actually much more fun to me, is a values assessment. It's where your personal values are and how you're probably maybe misaligned, which is causing you to start then stop, then fall apart. So maybe we'll shift into values a little bit. I don't know. Does that work for you?
Yeah, let's do it. I love values.
Okay, so let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit. If you just listen to that and you're like, I know what my values are, or I don't know
Hmm.
what my values are, but I don't care. I just want to make more money and grow the business. Let's talk a
Hmm.
little bit about how values show up in the everyday life cycle of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So, and this is cool. Even if you think you know your values, I actually do this assessment about every quarter, and I've been doing it very thoroughly for quite some time because even though most of the time your values are going to stay the same, there are tiny little things that you're working on and more focused on within with each value. And if you pay attention to that, it really helps you because our values, when we think about values, it's how we function in life. It's what's most important to us, what's most meaningful to us. It's the thing that is our driver, right? When we procrastinate and we're hesitating on things, it's not because we suck at something or we're bad at it or we're lazy. It's also because it's just not a high enough value. So the more that you understand your values, you actually know more where your energy and drive is. And so why I love to continue to understand that and refine that to ever greater degrees is because if I look at my values, I'm able to plan my day around what's most inspiring, energizing, important to me because I know I'm going to be most productive there, most successful, and not successful in the sense like I'm going to succeed every time. Like I'll just keep failing and I'll just keep going because it's too valuable and too important to me to stop. And every person on this planet's values are different. They're very unique. So the more you understand your own, the more you understand yourself and how you function, but also the more you understand others, you understand how they function. And that's really helpful too for communication because if we think about like if I'm communicating to someone I have a podcast as well, and one of the things I love about podcasting, we were talking about it yesterday with one of the guys I was interviewing. We had a good laugh because he's like, "I'm having so much fun. Normally, we don't talk about this much stuff on podcasts," and I was like, "This is a high value for you, you know?" And every time I spoke to him about it was actually personal development and leadership, the guy lit up and he couldn't stop talking. And I feel like we went way over time. He could have gone off on a tangent, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to feed that because that's your genius. That's what inspires you." And so I can get individuals to connect, communicate, collaborate to greater degrees when I understand what's important to them. And so, yeah, if you think about any relationship, that's quite a valuable thing to have on your side.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So the first thing, I'm going to work backwards. The first thing is when you listen to somebody else and you know what's important to them, not what you think is important, but what you know is important, and then you connect with them on that, not only will they feel seen and heard, but then they're also going to give back to you. So this is helpful communication. I want to go back to what you said though, because I think this is really powerful. And the idea is if you're doing things that are in line with your values, There's no success or failure. There's just forward momentum. Like you might try something, it might not work out the way that you wanted, but you're not going to get discouraged. You're going to continue moving forward. Can you give me a concrete example of that? Because I think a lot of people say, like,
Hmm.
I want to grow a business, but I hate marketing. I hate doing sales. I hate doing social media.
Hmm.
I hate managing people,
Yeah.
which leaves you with like this little sliver of a
What
business
do
over
you like
here
doing?
called like strategy, maybe, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but how do you change, like, one, let's get a concrete example. And then two, I want to know how you can tie actions into values,
Mhm.
because I think that's one of the most valuable things that I learned from John at the event.
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I actually have a super solid example because I just worked with someone on this because they past entrepreneur already built a great business and we're now transferring into a new industry, new business, something that's very inspiring to them. And when we got on the call, it was challenging for them because they're very frustrated that, they're like, realistically, I know it's not meant to create income yet, but I just feel like I'm not making any progress, right? So what we really uncovered is that there was the values misalignment that even though they'd done all this stuff in the past, they had to be a bit more of a solopreneur this time than they were before. And that was challenging because, funny enough, you talk about the sales and the marketing. They were doing sales and marketing this time, and that's not something that they've ever done before in their perception. So first, when we kind of dive in, I dove in to help them see like where they're doing sales, where they're great at marketing. We had a really good laugh because that individual is one of my top preferers. And I was like going through all the clients that they sold to connect with me. And I was like, I am forever grateful. I have had some of my favorite clients that I still work with today are some of the people that this individual sent my way. And I was like, so how are you not selling? And I was like, and I know I'm not the only person you sell. He loves personal development so much. He's doing it all the time. And we had a really good laugh because he got to see the sales dynamic. And so part of the linking where we got to see he has a really high value on connection and community. So in that moment, as I'm showing him how he does sales, I was showing him as well, how can you bring this connection community dynamic into sales today? And so we started to see how him doing sales actually enhances his own community connection. What's important to him? He loves life experiences. And so when we got into that and he started to see it, he started to open up and see the possibility. I'm not doing sales. I'm increasing my connections, increasing my network, and opening up the possibility of doing more collaborations with like a really cool community that he had access to start to market to and do sales. And so that changed the dynamic from like, I'm very stuck and I can't do anything to you get off the phone. I haven't moved his finances because, I'm on the phone for an hour. So we're not moving the needle there. We haven't moved the needle anywhere in the business, but all we've moved the needle on is inspiration. And so when I get off the phone, I'm like, okay, how do you feel? What are you going to do? And he's like, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really excited. I'm gonna get going. I actually like can't wait to get started. And so that's the dynamic of almost seeing the unseen. Like all of that, all those things that we're rejecting, not wanting to do, there's an unseen connection between how it actually serves what's meaningful to us and the actions that we're taking. And when we find those links and see the unseen, we become grateful and inspired, and we see the meaning and purpose behind what we're doing. Is if there's no meaning and purpose, we won't do it. But if we see the meaning and purpose, not only will we do it, but we'll go hard and we'll succeed and fail to get it done. And so that's when you're talking about the linking. The example I shared was like a dynamic of linking, but also ensuring that they understood like how they were a salesperson. Like nothing's missing. Like they've got this inside them. It was really fun.
So just to summarize all that, if you're listening, you're like, okay, I think I get it. The person highest value is personal development, growth, loves entrepreneurship. But sales to that person was outside of that. So they're like, sales has like this icky context, or it's not something I want to do. And what you helped them see was sales is actually just connecting with people in your higher purpose to help them be a better version of themselves. You reframed it and then tied it to his highest value. And if we tie things to our highest values, then that's when we start to see forward momentum.
Hmm.
That's when we start to see things. I would love to talk a little bit. The assessment that you have that you're sending people to, this is in the show notes. Tell me a little bit about what is included, because this assessment, I've done it I think I've done it 4 or 5 times over the last
Mhm.
year. I try to do it. It was recommended to do it quarterly as well. Walk people through what they're going to get and what this does for them.
Yeah. So this one's really fun. So this is by Dr. John D. Martini. I'm one of his senior facilitators. And actually, before I even became a facilitator, I found his values. And it was the reason why I started to become a facilitator. I'd already been coaching. This is how powerful it is. I was sitting there and I would work on getting people to gratitude, right? And that was part of my coaching practice. And I had already done that quite some time ago. And I learned about the values and I understood values. And I was really stuck with this one client. And I started asking them how the situation served their highest value. And it was really funny because my coach at the time had become my friend, the one who had introduced me to all this gratitude stuff initially. And I got through that session with her so fast. And I messaged my friend and I said, I don't know what this value stuff is. I said, I've loved it and I've appreciated it. I said, but I think it's more powerful than we understand because I was like, it felt like cheating, girl. I was like, you have to try it. Just go ask the benefits to someone's values. I was like, go try it. It's like cheating. I got through so much more in the session. And that was when I signed up for my first breakthrough. And so I started to understand the values to a greater degree. The values is, again, the meaning and purpose we place on our life. And when I say our life, I mean your existence on this planet. So that is not a subtle thing. It's the thing that you live for. It's the thing that you would die if you couldn't have it. That's how valuable it is internally. It is so important to you. So the more that you understand it, the more that you have the ability to empower yourself in life, to follow your values, reach out, do what's important to you, do what's meaningful to you. And the important thing of that, again, is we just go back into I want you to succeed 100%, but you're not going to succeed if like for example, if personal development is really important to you and I'm trying to get you to go be a professional surfer, like what is the point? Like you're gonna fail, you know? You're gonna fail miserably. But if I understand that personal development is important and I hear you're subordinating to surfing and you think that you should be a surfer when in reality, I'm watching you spend all your time, all your energy, all your money on all this personal development stuff. I'm going to be like, what are you doing? And I've worked with someone like this before too. They had a perception that acting was a top priority. And I was like, okay, well, let's dive into it because they're like, I want to be an actor. Help me be an actor. And I was like, all right, let's dive into it. Let's see what's going on. When I looked at how they spent their day, acting wasn't involved in it at all. They had acted one time a long time ago, and we live in LA, so it's very easy to subordinate to that. And so they had subordinated this idea that they could be or should be an actor because of this one time in this one moment. But if I look how they invested their time, they invested their time in their business, personal development, and community. That was the top things that they were invested in. And so I was like, all right, how are you investing in acting? And how they were investing was watching movies. And I was like, that's not going to get you anywhere. I was like, if that got you somewhere, I love movies. I could be an actress like that. And I'm very clear, like, that's not going to make me an actress. So we had a really good laugh. But then getting that individual on track to understand their values is also, again, you do the assessment, understand who you are, and then make sure you're investing in that daily. And so then it's like, what does that look like? How do I do what I love and get paid for it? Well, if you look at your value system, it's like if mine's around business and personal development, so I have a practice that's coaching people in business strategy and personal development and leadership. Like I love what I do, but it's not an accident. It's because I looked at my value system, you know?
Yeah, that so I think that's really this kind of brings us full circle. Like tying values to what you love doing, like tying what you love doing to your values, especially when it comes to business, usually unblocks stuff. And I think that's where a lot of business coaches miss out. If you guys have enjoyed this, make sure you click down in the show notes down below. Um, I think like I love this stuff because I think it is like the stuff that's between our ears is really what stops us from moving forward. I know you said you work as a coach. If they reach out through the gifts down below, they'll be able to connect with you as well. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah. So they can reach out through the gifts. And then also, if they want to reach out to me directly, just shoot me an email. Like, it's totally fine. Yeah. And then I'll just reconnect. Yeah.
And and one other way that I'll give them to connect with you, if you've enjoyed this conversation, Carly, what's the name of your podcast?
Oh, built for this. Yeah, built for this podcast. So all things business and personal development.
Awesome. We will
Yeah.
list that in the show notes as well. Carly, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to share the time with you and to hear your insights.
Thank you.
Awesome. To everybody else, we'll see you next time here on Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence.